Hello, hello. So in the last video, we set up the search head to be able to search the data that's already in the indexer cluster. But now we want to set up the enterprise instances or Splunk instances that we currently have deployed to go and forward all of its data to the cluster instead of indexing it locally. So on the search head, if we do just index equals underscore internal search for internal logs of Splunk, we can see that the the host field shows what host the log belongs to. It's a search head and 3 indexers. The Splunk underscore server field shows us what server actually served that data up, and it shows the indexers and the search head. We want all data to be pretty much served up by the indexer, so we need to configure the forwarding of all those logs into the indexer cluster. Before we forward those logs over, we need to set up receiving on these indexers so it can receive that data. I would, again, like I've mentioned in the other videos, like look up the docs for how to do this so you know you're doing it the correct way, but I'm going to show you how to do it from the GUI and the backend. Since we're configuring it on an indexer cluster, we do not want to configure it from the GUI. You don't want to hop onto any indexers in a cluster and try to manually change things. We always want to push out config bundles. So we'll do that route, but I'm going to show you how to do it from the GUI. So to start with, here, this is what it would look like if you, let's say, just had an all-in-one instance or just a single indexer. You'd go to settings, you have forwarding and receiving right here. Go to configure receiving. You're going to create a receiving port, and by default, you want to use 9997. That's just what Splunk likes. And you're just going to save, and you may need to do a restart, and that's it. And from after you're done with the restart, if you come back to receiving data, you should see that 9997 is enabled and it's ready to receive logs. For us, since it's a indexer cluster, we don't want to do it that way. Here is the spec file for the inputs.conf in Splunk docs. And if we go to the example section, they have some information here. The port that or the config that we're looking for that you want to push out to the indexer cluster is this right here. It's the Splunk TCP stanza. That's going to tell Splunk to listen for data, not just random TCP data, but Splunk's cooked data that it should be receiving from forwarders and such. You don't actually need this part, you just need this. So what we're going to do is go over to the cluster manager. I'm going to go to Config Explorer, and inside of Manager Apps, I'm going to make a new app in here, following kind of the naming convention I have going on, called indexer underscore base. And some of the indexer specific stuff, I'm going to put it in this app. You can put a lot of this stuff just together in one app if you want, but I just like splitting it up. So I'm going to create my local directory. I'm also going to create my metadata directory out of habit. I'll create a app.conf so that this directory is considered an app. And in here, I'll put in base indexer configs. And I'll create the inputs.conf and paste the config in here. And I'm going to change the 6 to a 7 since we want 9997, which is the default port Splunk uses for receiving data, cooked data, which is the parse data. We don't need anything else here. That's all we need. And I'm going to go over to one of my other apps and steal the local.meta from in here. You could always right-click and download, which is useful. So right-click, download, come over to here, click upload, and from here, I can just drag and drop it in if I don't want to make it. So that's it. It is ready for the cluster. So we'll go to the settings, indexer clustering, do the edit dropdown, go over to configuration bundle actions. We're going to validate it. Check for restart. Okay, it probably lied to us. I'm pretty sure that needs a restart. So I'm gonna click push, see what it does. Never mind, it did not. So here's the active bundle. Our previous bundle's hash is right there. So now what we're gonna do is, if we wanted to validate this, you could do like a netcat or something. I still have the GUI for my indexers alive, so I'm just gonna go into the indexers, setting, forwarding and receiving, go to configure forwarding, and here it is. 997 is on and it is enabled. Again, if you're an indexer cluster, don't change stuff from the GUI. Just push it out as a bundle. I'm just showing you this as a easy way to validate it or showcase that to you. So that's it. The indexer cluster is ready to receive cooked data from other Splunk instances. So now we need to configure the forwarding piece, which is like this heavy forwarder forwarding into the cluster, or this, any of them forwarding in. So to do that, the cluster manager is my deployment server. So we want to create a deployment app. I'm going to go to Etsy, deployment apps. So any app going out to a client lives here. That's not an indexer. And I'm going to make an app in here called bc_forwarder outputs. This is going to house the outputs.conf for all of our forwarders. I'll do local metadata, and I'll just go in there and plop this in here real quick since we have it. Just the default permissions. And in local, we'll create a app.conf, and we'll say outputs into indexer cluster. Save that. And now we need to create a outputs.conf. So for outputs, you can kind of do the same thing. You can do it from the GUI if you want. Go to forwarding and receiving, configure forwarding. And actually, I'll show you how to do it from the GUI on this instance, since this instance is, we're just going to have it locally since it's not going to be able to push it to itself. So we'll go to settings, configure forwarding and receiving, and you need to pay attention to what app you're in for this. So we're in Config Explorer. If I click new forwarding host, I'll want to put in the host and the port. Actually, I won't do it from here because we need to push it out to a indexer cluster. So forget that I said that. We're back here in the outputs.conf. Let's go to the docs again. Go to outputs.conf. And we're just going to go straight to the example section because this should have what we want. So in here, here's some examples. It just shows us how to do TCP out group 1, group 2, group 3, and so on. We don't actually need one that's that complicated. All we're going to need, let me scroll through this. Okay, this one should be good. So again, look at the docs. I'm just scrolling through looking for a good example to show you. So this one will pretty much serve us good. So we're going to copy this example. There is, again, like a ton of options in here that you can look at, like load balancing options, like queuing information, or queuing configs, all kinds of configs you can do in here that you can mess around with, but I'm just going to go with the bare minimum. So for the forwarder outputs, I'm just going to paste in what I have, and I'm going to call it barely chili IDX cluster. Just going to call it a super long name. And so that's the TCP out stanza telling it what the default group is. And then here's the config for that group. This is the group name. And we need to put in the servers. So for that, I'm going to go over to one of them, just grab the host name and paste that in. And we want to put the listening port. So by default, it's going to be 9997. That's what we chose. I'm just going to copy this over here. So indexer 2. and indexer 3. We have the config ready, so I'm going to go over to our forwarder management, and we need to look at where this needs to go. So this needs to go to the search head, the heavy forwarder, and this host itself. So we'll handle the search head and the heavy forwarder first. So in forwarder management, I already have a server class for Splunk hosts. So I'm just going to click on that, go to configurations, edit configuration, and I'm going to add in the forwarder outputs. Swap it over, save, and really quickly, I'm just going to change this so that it restarts Splunk after getting installed. So that's not deployed yet. So we'll go here and we can see the agents. It's going to wait. So it should do a restart of the search head once it receives it. In the meantime, what we're going to do is configure this host to be able to do the same thing to forward to the indexer cluster. So let's go to the back end and do the same deal here. We're going to copy. I'm in the, can I make this bigger? Yes, I can. I am in the off Splunk etc directory. I'm going to recursively copy the deployment apps, BC, it's called forwarder outputs, yep, into the apps directory. Cool. So it just copied that whole app. So if we go over to the apps directory, we can see forwarder outputs is here. This is configured. I'll do another, I think I already have a video on config explorer and what all these colors and stuff mean. You can do a btool check to see if there's anything wrong. Syntax errors, there is not. And I'm gonna do a restart of this host. So server controls, restart, and this is also the cluster manager, so you kind of have to be a little careful, but I'm just gonna go through restart and I'll be right back. While that is restarting, I realize the search head is done. So we're gonna log in. We're gonna go to, oh, it is having some trouble. Let's see. So let's go to the settings drop down. We're going to go to forwarding and receiving. Go to configure forwarding, and let's see what's here. So we have indexer 1, 2, and 3. That's good. Okay, let's see. Go in here. Is this having issues as well? Did we do something wrong in the config? I don't think we did. Host 9997, blah blah. Okay, so that's good. Let's go to search and reporting and look for internal logs and see if there is cluster manager logs in here. There is not. So it is in fact having issues. It is blocked. I wonder if the indexers are not listening properly. Let me do a stat. Set installed does not. Let's exit to, there we go. Get that installed real quick, and we'll do a netstat tulbn. Make sure that it's actually listening. Ooh. It is not listening. This is the indexer, right? Yeah, it is. So let's go and check this. Forwarding, receiving, configure receiving. Oh, it's disabled. So I was definitely wrong. I feel like you didn't have to do this before. Maybe I'm mistaken. So let's go to Manager Apps, go to Indexer Base, inputs.conf, and just do disabled equals false. Maybe I do it, but it's small. Or the stanza looks small, so just don't recall having to put that in there. Because I thought it would default to enabled. Anyway, we're gonna save that settings, indexer cluster, rookie mistake, configuration bundle actions. We're going to validate this bundle. That is good to go. Let's push that. Okay, I should have seen that it wasn't enabled the first time we went into there, even though the port showed up. So let me let this do its restart real quick. I'll be right back. All right, so this should be wrapping up. And something to note, if the like if something like this happens where the indexer isn't available or the port isn't open or something like that, it will pause forwarding, and it'll tell you in the logs that it's pausing for like X amount of seconds or whatnot. So either you can let that time age out and start forwarding again, or in this instance, I'm just going to restart this host so that it starts pushing the data out. But before we do that, this is done restarting. We're on indexer 1. Since all the indexers are identical, we just really need to go on 1 and check. So 9997, it is enabled. Let's do netstat and make sure that this is listening. Here it is, 9997 is listening. So I'm going to go in and restart the search head so that it, as soon as it restarts, it'll try to start sending data again. It'll reset that pause. So I'll be right back. All right, so the restart is done. I'm gonna go in and let's see. We still have a red state, but this is at 20%, so it should be actually forwarding. And it looks like it's a cluster manager complaining about it right now. So I'll leave this one be for now. Let's go over to search and reporting. Let's go to search. Let's just pull up our trusty search here. And as we can see, there are 6 hosts in there. Oh, looks like the cluster manager started forwarding as well. The search head can't connect to the cluster manager or the heavy forwarder. So the only way it could return results for those here is if it came from the indexer cluster. And we can verify that by clicking the Splunk server field. Again, this is what host is serving up the logs. And we can see it's the indexers and the search head. The only reason the search head is showing up here is because there is data that is only available, or data from before we configured outputs, like all those buckets for the internal indexes are still living on the search head. So until that kind of goes out of the time range we're looking at, it'll still show the search head. So we changed this to like relative 1 minute and look at just a log from a minute ago. We only see indexers, but we still see all 6 hosts. So all 6 of the hosts, so the search head, the manager node, the heavy forwarder, and the indexers themselves are all logging within the indexer cluster, and all of these hosts are forwarding it into the indexer cluster. So now the search head can search through all of the logs. Now, if you configure something on the heavy forwarder, let's say, you configure like an input, the outputs will automatically get that data pushed out from the heavy forwarder into the indexer cluster and do all the load balancing and all that kind of stuff for you. Something that you'll always want to keep in mind, like a quick check you can do, is to look at the Splunk server and see which indexers are returning most the results. This is a super short window, so it's not very reliable, but you want to make sure, especially over a larger window, that the indexers are kind of even. Like one indexer for some reason isn't returning most of the results. That could be because forwarders aren't actually load balancing properly and are just sending logs to one indexer. So something to pay attention to. And you can kind of see that from this view as well. So in settings, indexer cluster, in the peer view, you see the amount of buckets they have. They should be relatively the same. There shouldn't be a whole lot of differences between them. If there is, it likely means that one indexer is being favored for whatever reason, and you'll need to figure that out. So in this video, we went through and configured the receiving on the indexers. We troubleshot the issue where it wasn't enabled. And we also configured outputs on all of our Splunk instances to make sure that they are forwarding their logs into the cluster instead of indexing them locally. So that's it for this one. I think I keep forgetting to say this, but if you have any questions, just drop it in the comment section below, and I'm sure either me or somebody else from the community will take a stab at answering it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.